This is the Hollywood Outsider, weekly movie and TV podcast with a new episode every Thursday. This is episode 145, and this week we are discussing upcoming releases, including Think Like a Man 2 and Jersey Boys. We're going to have spoiler-free reviews of Edge of Tomorrow and Fault in Our Stars. Yes, one of us saw it. Our From the Outside In topic this week, movie and TV dads. Aww. And the latest in movie and TV news. What'd you say? Except for Justin. He's like, dads suck.
Dads suck.
Latest in movie and TV news, including our own trivia segments. My name's Aaron Peterson, and with me today are my fellow hosts, Justin McCumber.
Hey, Aaron, you sound lonely.
I am a little lonely. We are without one Clark.
We're down a hoe.
We're down a hoe.
Hoe down! Oh, wait. Brian's going to start dancing.
Ding, 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 ding.
And Brian Williams.
I thought I'd missed like an echo off of, Scott's Big Melon,
It does.
in that room.
It does reverb very nicely down here. Yeah. He is out of town. He is in the great state of Oregon right now. Nobody knows why. He just is. Okay, somebody brought this up to me, and it was an interesting thought, and I hadn't thought about it. And I'm a big proponent of drive-in movies. It's the season, summer season. Everybody's got one somewhere near them, but it doesn't seem like people really venture out to go to them anymore. Do you know people who still go to drive-in movies besides myself?
Nope.
Well, you say everybody's got one near them, but I don't know if that's true. I mean, maybe in Rockford, Illinois, you're tripping over drive-in movie theaters, but out here, I think the nearest one to me is probably about 45 minutes out, maybe a little longer, but about 45 minutes. And no, I don't go to it mostly because it is so far out. I've got a great movie theater 5 minutes from my house. I'm not going to drive 40 extra minutes just for nostalgia. But if there was one closer, yeah, I would go to it more often. And I think more people would, but they're just not as prevalent as they used to be. And I think that even when there is one, sometimes people just don't know.
Why do you guys think it's lost its luster, so to speak?
Way down south. I mean, in the summertime, it doesn't get dark till 9 o'clock. I don't know, maybe that's got something to do with it. It's also, 100 freaking degrees.
At night, at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, right. It's why, and with gas, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, it's been so long since I've been to a drive-in. I can't even tell you how long ago it was. So I don't know exactly the protocol, but to sit there with your car running and the AC on for 2 hours, especially the way gas prices are, I just don't see why anybody would choose to do that.
It's just dying, huh?
Well, I think, back in the day when people didn't have, air conditioners in every car, they were just kind of used to the brutal environment when going to a drive-in, down here in Texas at night. Now we're all too cushy with our ACs and comfortable seats. Plus, they're not surround sound. It's not really HD. It's probably not the experience that today's movie cinema goers are all that interested in. I think it's mostly us old folks and hipster youngsters that,
spoiled.
Want to go.
Everybody's spoiled. Everybody's watching movies on their phone now. Damn kids. Pacific Rim 2 is apparently being written. It doesn't mean that they're in production, please. Nobody go around screaming that they're making the movie yet. They're not. But Justin, as somebody who I think believes this is one of the greatest movies of all time or something.
Fuck Citizen Kane.
Are you, Rose, what? How excited are you for the potential for Pacific Rim 2? And it seems like Del Toro's excited.
Well, huge. I mean, I do. I think Pacific Rim is one of the most fun action movies that I've seen in forever. I think it blows just about every other monster movie of its ilk out of the water. It's just balls out fun the whole time. To get more of that shit, yeah, sign me up. And when you hear Del Toro talking about how the next one will be even bigger and better and more crazy, please give me some of that.
Did he elaborate, or he's
not elaborating yet.
Yeah.
A lot of people have speculated that there might be some kind of Voltron sort of action going on where maybe multiple Jaegers could join together to form some kind of super Jaeger, but
like
that's
a
all
unity
speculation.
circle?
What?
Like a unity circle of robots?
Well, no, more like Devastator from the Transformers,
I could dig
or
that,
Voltron, how all the lions would come together to form the one big dude. If they do that, part of me is like, but another part of me is like, fuck yeah, let me see that. So I don't know. I'm just excited.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it. The rumors I've heard was speculation on focusing more on the kaiju's home world.
I don't want that. I want it on Earth. I want to blow Earth up. Earth needs to
blow
go.
up their planet. Earth gets blown up all the time. Let's fuck somebody else's
Yeah,
world
we've
up.
really got nothing left between the White House and Paris, and
I mean, that Eiffel Tower is constantly falling over.
just when they get it put up, it's knocked over again.
Didn't we blow it up in the last movie though? Didn't that when that thing dropped? Spoiler alert! But when the thing dropped to the exist, yeah,
You're not even adding extra letters. You're adding whole syllables.
yeah. When it dropped through that giant hole in the ocean floor, the drift didn't that destroy that world?
Tokyo Drift.
Well, we don't know. I mean, did it destroy a world? Did it destroy just a city? Or was that merely just a way station in the middle of this wormhole rift, and maybe the planet was on the other side of that?
It could have been the kaiju bus stop.
That's right. And it could have been just one world. There could be a lot of worlds.
They're all just sitting there just waiting for their end. That's my turn. Tag me, bro.
I just want to see awesome robots and awesome monsters just beating the shit out of each other.
And I want Godzilla to pop in.
Oh, and I want him to get bitch slapped the first moment he's on screen.
Oh, he can't get. He's Godzilla.
Oh God,
Or
he's
Chewbacca.
I think that was his child you just did the voice of. What was this kid's name?
Godzilla's?
Yeah, I remember there was
Junior?
a cartoon. I think they even had the movie with Godzilla child. I forget what it was
Hank?
called.
They call him Hank? I don't know.
No, I don't know. I'm sure some listener will hopefully send us an email and let us know.
Tell us how stupid we are that we couldn't think of it.
Of course.
Actually, I don't blame him. James Cameron is bringing Sigourney Weaver and Stephen Lang both back for the Avatar sequels, but they're coming back as different characters because if you haven't seen Avatar, it came out a long time ago, and those two died. So I guess my question would be, now Jess, I know you're a huge fan, and Brian, I think you liked it, but you didn't, right?
Yeah, I liked it. I liked the pretty pictures, but the story was just
Kind of basic.
very, very cliche, very overused.
My question to you, Justin, as a big fan of Avatar, would this... Now, I know you don't know exactly how they're going to do it. It might just be all CGI. Who knows? But if they were back in a normal human form of some kind, would that be too distracting for you?
Stephen Lang more than Sigourney Weaver's character. With the way that her character died, she was connected to that world tree telepathy, one world thing. And so I could easily see that when she died, her consciousness went into that thing. And then later on, maybe a new body is given to her, or she somehow manifests in another way. I could kind of go with that. But Stephen Lang's character, he had no connection to that. He was just straight up killed. And so I really don't know how they're going to bring that actor back. If it is a flesh and blood character, maybe he had a twin. That's kind of weak sauce.
Oh.
But I understand that James Cameron likes both of these actors. I mean, hell, he's worked with Sigourney Weaver ever since Aliens. So they've got, a 20 plus year history together. I mean, that came out in 85.
30 years.
So
30
yeah,
years.
it's quite a long time. And, he obviously enjoyed working with Stephen Lang, so he wants to continue working with them. I just, don't continue working with them if it's going to sacrifice viewer attention or suspension of disbelief. But, he's a smart guy. I'm sure if there's a way to bring them back and it's reasonable, then that's how he's going to do it.
I thought long and hard about this, and now I'm sure that there's some way that they could spiritually do it. I have no idea. I can't remember the technology. It's been a while since I saw the movie. But I thought about this very hard, and I thought, for me personally, both those actors' voices are very distinct, and it would be very hard for me to even hear them without remembering, you're dead. For me personally, that's just me personally. I wouldn't even have to see him because I know Sigourney Weaver and I know Stephen Lang's voice, and I think it would be very hard. Brian, you agree, disagree?
I think if they are completely different characters, where all of a sudden Sigourney Weaver she's now some corporate bureaucrat type person, I think that would be very distracting. And I think if they acknowledge it by, everybody kind of stops and stares at her and like, what do I,
Like everybody just stops.
You look familiar, or hey, have we met? Something like that. That might kind of, that might make it a little easier at that point. But I just don't like the idea. I would rather see both of them maybe reincarnated in some fashion. Like, well, we'd use some of the alien technology to bring them back. I wouldn't like it, but I could deal with that more than watching them in a completely different role. It would take me probably 2 more movies to get used to them in the other role.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that turns out. I mean, it's still in the early stages. Unfortunately, last week we had to cut this part out, and I'm actually glad, and I'm not glad that Scott's gone. I'm glad that we have a little bit more. When there's 3 of us, there's always a little bit more time, so we actually have time to put it back in. But we were discussing Oliver Stone.
She said.
Really?
Thank you.
Oliver Stone has decided to make a film on Edward Snowden. God, you're like such children. Such children.
Yep.
I'm not. He is.
I didn't start it.
Oliver Stone has decided he's going to make a movie on Edward Snowden. And from the looks of what's being reported thus far, it is still undecided if he will be painted as a hero or a villain. He did just buy books or rights to another book. So, Brian, what do you hope to gain from this movie when he finally does make it?
Well, Oliver Stone actually said it in a press conference that he does see Edward Snowden as a hero, and in many ways, I believe he is. But personal beliefs aside, what I hope to do is learn a lot about this situation. But I'm very skeptical. Basically, I'll kind of have to, because Oliver Stone is a very opinionated person. He's a very he's not scared to stir up controversy. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know how much. I'll just have to go in it with a kind of a skeptical eye and say, all right, I'm pretty sure 60-70% of this is true, but I know the other stuff is embellishment or personal bias, whatever the case is. And kind of take it as that and just entertainment, because he does make some great movies.
He does, and he does embellish. I mean, JFK, I think, is a great movie.
Oh, yeah.
But if you watch it and take too much of it seriously, you will start getting an aneurysm, like literally an aneurysm. The facts are quite interesting. That's the only thing I'm worried about. I would like to see a movie. I would like to see a lot more of the detail, the ins and outs. And I think, just like we did with Social Network, I think this kind of thing can be done well. And I especially want to see him and what he went through, and really kind of get a little bit more of some of the blanks filled in that you won't find out in the press. You know what I mean? Some of the stuff that's being slanted, whichever way that particular organization leans. So you can see what he's pointing at, and maybe the film could take a look at the government involvement, the NSA's involvement, look at him as a traitor as well, because, there's an argument for him to be a traitor. I don't know. I think Oliver Stone's the wrong guy for this kind of movie. Does that make sense? I know I just stumbled all over that.
He's not quite Michael Moore, but
he's close. Now, Justin, you are Oliver Stone, really. You just don't have a camera. How do you feel? I mean, do you think he can present this accurately? I mean, your politics align is kind of what I meant.
No, I mean, I don't really think anybody is going to be able to produce a completely neutral, unbiased look at a figure like Edward Snowden. It's just, I don't think it's really in our nature to do that. Everyone's got a bias, a lean, and when someone like this is going to have a film made about them, I think that bias is going to come forward, whether they paint him as a hero or a villain. I think that Oliver Stone is qualified for it in the fact that he has done so many political movies. Mm-hmm. I think that he certainly has got more than has the technical chops to make it. But is he going to make a movie that presents the truth, or just a certain version of that truth? I think it's just going to be a certain version of it, but I think anybody making this film, that is what they would produce. I won't be happy until Fox News develops its own little movie arm and presents a movie of it, because they are fair and balanced, and that's what I want.
I was waiting for the laugh track. I think we should.
You can add that in later.
We should insert a laugh track at some point.
Yes.
Okay, well, this one has me personally excited because I've actually read the book. Acts of Violence is a novel being adapted into a film based on the murder of Kitty
Genovese.
No,
Genovese.
I think the S is silent, but whatever. In 1964, it's a horrific book, and really like that book, they're going to go with multiple perspectives, and I'll let Justin explain what it is. But what do you think about this concept?
Well, it's based on a book, as you said, written by Ryan David John. In the UK, it's known as Acts of Violence, but here in the US, it's called Good Neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And it is based on this woman named Kitty Genovese, who was killed in the courtyard of her apartment building over the course of several hours. All of the people, there were at least 38 neighbors who heard her being killed. They did nothing, and they did not call the police. She was just allowed to be murdered, and they totally let it happen. And Ryan David John, having that as inspiration, wrote a book about a character and just used all of that as the story for what he wrote, where the book kind of looks into the lives of some of those people who are living in the apartment. You know, who are they? Why did they let this happen? What was going on with them while this was occurring? And the movie will follow the same thing. Some people have compared it to like what Crash did, by taking an event that involved a certain number of people and then showing that event through their differing perspectives. You know, was it purely cowardice, or was there something else involved, and why all of these people allowed this horrific event to occur? I think it sounds really interesting, and I'd be curious to see this film. I don't care to read the book. It's not my type of book, but for a film, you know, a 2-hour piece of art, I would really like to see this. It looks really interesting.
And what I like most about, and I will grant this because somebody who's read the book is going to come forward and say, well, you know, that some of the facts have been distorted. Yeah, I realize that.
The book itself is a fictional book,
yes,
based on and inspired by what happened to the real woman who got killed.
Exactly. And for me, it's not so much the actual murder. I would love to see a movie where they examine the human condition, because there are so many of us. I'm not saying we don't know what we do in that situation. We'd like to think we would. We'd like to think we're all heroic and we do the right thing and everything else. But I would like to see a movie that really examined the human condition of people that don't do the right thing when it really matters. I don't think there's enough movies that really do that and do it well. And that's what's riveting to me.
I mean, if she were being murdered by a demon, I'm not going out there either, folks. I'm not going to man up and be the hero. I'm staying in my apartment, trying to make a cross, because I obviously don't have one with me.
That's true. You probably don't even
I'm going
have
to start
one.
repenting quick.
You probably
with a quickness.
Buried all the ones that are in your neighborhood. You just went door to door, just started buying them up.
Yep. Can I have it? Can I have it, please? Thank you.
You can borrow mine. I'll mail it. The Alamo Drafthouse is a historic theater in Austin, Texas. And if you're a movie buff, which most of you listening probably are, you're probably aware of what it is. And they're a chain now, but they started as one. Recently set a precedent by banning Google Glass in their theater. They said, you can't, once the movie starts, you got to take that off. I want to know, as we get more and more mobile tech and everything else, how long before we get like a magic wand swipe at the ticket counter? And are you okay with that?
As of right now, yeah, I'm okay with it. Their big gripe with it is that apparently, I'm not up to savvy with the Google Glass thing, but apparently you can record whatever you're, focusing it on. So, I mean, hey, it's a video for all intents and purposes. It's a video camera, and they've got piracy stuff that's going on, and they've got other rules. It's talking and cutting up and cell phone usage. While you're watching a movie. So it goes right in line with that. They've been something they've when it first came out, they noticed it and recognized the potential for it and said, and I think they did the right thing. They said, you know what, we're just going to hold off judgment on it until something happens, and then once they noticed that it was happening, they're putting a stop to it. I'm fine with it.
The fact of the matter is that, back in the day, and by the day I mean, 10 years ago and earlier, if you wanted to record a movie, you had to bring in a not tiny piece of recording equipment to do that. That would probably be easily spotted bringing it in, and if not, you'd certainly see it and hear it. in the theater, even though a lot of people still got away with it.
Why are you setting that tripod up? Nothing.
Right. Exactly.
Nothing going on here, sir. Nothing.
But now people have HD recorders in their pockets. And with these Google Glass, they're wearing it on their face. And so what is a movie theater to do to combat that kind of easy pirating? And this isn't something that just the movie houses are having to deal with. I listen to a lot of comedian podcasts, and a lot of them have complained that people use their phone, and I'm sure Google Glass, to record their performances on stage and then load them up on YouTube. And so all the things that people would have normally had to pay for to go see, they can just now see for free, and the comedian really can't do a whole lot about it. So it's a plague on a lot of live performance that people have these recording devices. And I think it's appropriate that a movie theater puts limits on what you can bring into their theater. And if I walked in today and they said, we need you to leave your iPhone here, I would be more than fine leaving my iPhone there. In fact, I'd be kind of glad, because I'm hoping everybody else had to too. And so none of them can start texting or tweeting or doing whatever.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, just the other day, there was a news thing about this guy performing a concert and saw somebody with a GoPro camera right down there in front and recording it. And he actually took it from him.
Really?
So, yeah.
Good. I got to say, I'm for. Well, I'm also for the least amount of distractions in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't think Google Glass is going to disrupt the patrons, but it's just wrong.
The what?
The patrons.
Okay, I thought you said Patreons.
No,
That's kind of what I heard too.
no, it's patrons.
Okay, thanks,
Patrons.
Brian.
Yeah, no, patrons and patriots too. I'm sure
The
there's some
patriotic patrons.
there's some heroes in there too. No, I don't think it's going to disrupt them, but it's just simply wrong. It's just like, if you've got your phone and they saw you recording it, they would make you stop. So I don't really know what the complaint is. But some people are going to raise hell about it for whatever reason, because that's my right. I can wear my glasses wherever I want.
No, you can't.
That's
Well,
right.
it's not your right. It ain't in the fucking Constitution that you get to walk around with Google Glass and your phone.
How cool would it have been if they put it in there, though? Like,
That would have been some forward thinking.
200 years ago, they're going, one day, somebody's got to come up with this. We got to cover
People
it.
don't have a right to their phone in other places of business. If they want to take it up, then they can take it up. You don't have to go into that movie theater if you don't want to.
That's right.
So you didn't see it, but I just snapped a Z.
Go to the drive-in and record it there.
That's right.
Welcome to Brian's Trailer Park. First up is November Man. It's starring Pierce Brosnan. It's based on Bill Granger's There Are No Spies. November Man is about an ex-CIA operative who's played by Mr. Brosnan, and he finds himself pitted against his former lackey, pupil, mentee, whatever, in a race to find a woman hiding from her past and who happens to hold the key to an international conspiracy. Now, Aaron, does Pierce Brosnan get his James Bond-ish swag back with this, or what?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. I was a little leery of this because he's, hasn't been in the Bond game for a while. And the thing that concerned me the most isn't so much that he couldn't do it. It's that with Daniel Craig coming up behind him and all these new, younger action heroes.
Like Liam Neeson?
Like Liam... Liam Neeson accepted. Jackass. I was afraid that he would look slower, less authentic, less badass than he would have 10 years ago. But he didn't. I actually think it's doing him well. He needs to do more stuff like this. He lost his edge, I think, near the end, the last Bond movie or two.
Or Mamma Mia.
Well, no, but that was a different kind of movie. I'm okay with him singing and dancing. He was wonderful. The jackass. God, I don't know why we let you talk. It was nice to see him back. It was good to see him back. And it felt more like the Bond I wanted when he was doing Bond movies than the Bond I got when he was doing Bond movies, if that makes any sense.
For me, I liked it quite a bit. What I think I enjoyed most about it is that it wasn't a trailer filled with all of the sorts of shots that if this was a Vin Diesel movie or The Rock movie or any other younger action heroes film, that we would have gotten. The gigantic explosions, the people leaping 20 feet across lanes of traffic, the falling from a exploding helicopter, all that stuff. It was a more realistic kind of action. It was a little, it harkened back to movies that, we would have seen 10, 15, 20 years ago. And we just don't see a more true to life kind of action movie anymore. Everything we see is played right up to the very hilt and beyond. And I liked getting back to something that was a little more believable. So I really appreciated this trailer, and I'm quite curious to see the movie when it comes out. I liked it. I think Pierce Brosnan, he's still the man.
Although now I have a vision where I want to see December Man, or whatever the sequel would be called, where he's wearing a wife beater and he's completely oiled up.
Well, when I first saw that, I thought, well, is this the January Man, a prequel? Is Kevin Kline in this somewhere?
I love that movie. Love that movie. Did you ever see it?
Yeah, I saw it a long time ago.
Guys, if you've never seen that movie, watch it. Just watch the end. I don't care about the rest of it. But when he's chasing that guy down the stairs and he goes, "You're not getting away. Why don't you just fucking accept it?" is one of my favorite villain chases of all time. I guess.
Do you think we'll hear November Rain by Guns N'
doubt
Roses
it.
during this at any time?
Do you think we're ever going to get a geriatric Expendables movie where it's got like Liam Neeson and?
Don't we already have that?
Well, kinda, but some of the dudes in that and the Expendables are on the youngerish, typish side.
Okay, so you want them in wheelchairs? What do
I
you
want them all busting out of the old folks' home
Like
for one last job.
Cocoon?
Sorry, wasn't that red? Wasn't that red too?
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Oh, wow.
All right. Well, the November Man opens August 27th, so towards the end of the summer there.
So the November Man opens in August. Okay, they could have planned that a little better.
Well,
Kind of like Labor Day.
Labor Day, that's already on video.
Halloween opens usually in like what, July or
Don't
August.
even get me started on that piece of shit.
Yeah, God forbid it opens in October.
Yeah, and with a director that knows what he's doing. Continue. Go ahead.
And what is probably my second most surprised trailer of the year, Dumb and Dumber 2 has had the trailer. The first trailer for it has released, and it picks up with Harry and Lloyd. They 20 years after the dimwits set out on their first adventure, and this time they go out on another adventure, but it's to look for one of their long lost children in hopes of gaining a new kidney. So,
I like that plot description.
yeah, Justin, I don't know to me, Dumb and Dumber is in the like sacred class as far as comedies go. And this, God, it burns me to say it, but this actually has potential to live up to it. What do you think? Oh God, it's got this dreaded Justin sigh.
Uh-oh. You got a sigh. That's a review at this point, isn't it?
I didn't like it. I felt like it was just trying so hard to be like the first one. And I don't know, maybe I've moved on or these actors are just a little too old to be playing these characters. I'm not quite sure what it was, but I could not have been less impressed with this trailer if it had just been 2 minutes of Jim Carrey doing that worst sound ever from the first movie. It was awful. Just awful. But then again, I could be just jaded at this point. I liked Dumb and Dumber. I thought it was really funny, but for me, that wasn't the kind of movie that ever needed to have more done with it. Those kinds of characters, they work in a limited dose, and then I don't need to see it again. And now we're getting another dose of it, and it didn't do anything for me. I'm sure Aaron thought much better of it, so let's move it over to him so we can get buried in my negativity. What
did you think about how they kind of connect the two movies and how they pick it up 20 years later?
All right. I want this to be very good. And I wish Scott was here because I know he'd be giddy about this. This is right up his alley. He loves that. The
oh, absolutely.
Movie. Man, there's some lame-ass jokes in that trailer. Now, it's not done, so they're still working on the movie. It could just be like a rush trailer. I don't know. The thing at the nursing home that opens it, where he's like, "Oh, I've been sitting here for 20 years for a joke." I think that joke is dumb. I just didn't think it was funny.
God, see, I thought that was great.
I didn't think it was funny. But it ended on one of the funniest things I've seen all year. That when he takes his hand out and blows dust off it, that made me piss myself. So it left me on a high note. And I remember the movie. It's been so long since I saw it, honestly. I liked it. It's not one of my all-time favorite comedies by any way, shape, or form. So for me, it's not a sequel I'm dying for. And the trailer didn't get me excited for it. But some of the jokes did work. I'm hoping the movie works a little better than that trailer did for me. Now, what about you? Let's end on a high note. Because Justin said, I said I'm right in the middle. And you are saying...
Yeah, I'm going to the positive end of the spectrum on this one. I've said it before. I thought this was a, pardon the pun, but a dumb idea. I thought the window has closed on these two characters. I thought this is they should have, if they were going to do a sequel, that should have been done immediately. But now that it's 20 years later, I just think the time has passed, and it just feels like they're, trying to milk a dry teat here. I mean, it's just, but after watching this trailer, I love how they tied it together, that it's, he's been playing a joke on him for 20 years just to, I'm sorry, it worked for me. It brought back my love of the movie. I want to go back and watch the original. I hate to say it, but I'm looking forward to it. And I realize, and I say that realizing I'm probably going to be disappointed once I pay my $10 and
well,
sit
don't
my
say
butt in the
that.
theater.
Don't say that. If there's a lot of people that are excited about it, and for them, I hope this movie lives up, because I know how that is with Indiana Jones. I felt your pain, and I want you to get the movie that you guys want. I mean, there's some people that are really excited for this, and I want it to live up to that. I don't see it yet, but Brian does, and by God, Brian, it sounds like a harder one to convince. So,
I am, and at this time I do plan on being there November 14th to check this out. So anyway, but you guys can watch these trailers and those from recent episodes at thehollywoodoutsider.com. And if you got anything you want us to talk about or whatever, you just want to give us a shout, reach us on Twitter at H_outsider. Go on to facebook.com/The Hollywood Outsider. Leave us a message or text us at 818-81-I'm-a-ho. That's 818-814-6246. And, of course, you can email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com.
And you can also, we just started a Facebook group on Facebook called The Hollywood Outsider. But that's for all film and TV fans, so you guys can post and talk about whatever you want. And listeners of the show as well as non-listeners. So go check that out as well. Let's go to the big screen. We talk about new releases. We review any new releases. Justin and Brian and I actually all saw Edge of Tomorrow. You can read my review on the website. But I'm going to let Justin and Brian do most of it, and I'll just chime in here and there. So, Justin, what is Edge of Tomorrow about?
All right, Edge of Tomorrow is the latest film from Doug Liman, who directed the film. It's a sci-fi action movie starring Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, and Bill Paxton. It's based on a book by a Japanese author. The book is called All You Need Is Kill, which is originally what the movie was going to be called until they changed it. And the author of the book is Hiroshi Sakurazaka.
Oh, it's not so funny when it's you, is it?
Sakurazaka. So
that sounds like risotto? What?
Now, surprisingly, the movie and the book follow each other fairly close. There are, of course, some differences, but on the main, they follow the same story. And the story is that an officer, Tom Cruise, finds himself caught in a time loop in a war with an alien race. His skills increase as he faces the same brutal combat scenarios over and over again, and his union with a special forces warrior, played by Emily Blunt, gets him closer and closer to defeating the enemy. Now, Brian and Aaron, both of you saw this film with me. For you two, how well do you think Doug Liman, Cruise, and Blunt, and of course the writer Christopher McQuarrie, how well do you think they actually handled this story? Did it work for you?
I felt the ending was tied up a little too, maybe want to say lazily. Overall, I would say the vast majority of it was refreshing. It was, it felt it didn't feel as cumbersome with the time, with kind of the time travel stuff, like say maybe Looper, or what's the Gyllenhaal one, where he was on a train or something.
Oh, Source Code.
Source Code, right? It felt good, and the way that they injected the humor into the story really kind of just made it work that much more.
Which you get none of in the trailers.
Right. And that's what, I guess, for me, what helped make the movie that much more entertaining was the fact that there were some surprises there. And yeah, so I thought it was great.
Yeah, the marketing was really bad. Like, seriously, if you saw the trailer and you're wondering what movie we saw, the trailer does no justice whatsoever to this movie, in my opinion.
Thank you. I could not agree more.
Like Brian said, I liked everything but the last 3 minutes. It was a very well-constructed film. I was pleasantly surprised. The humor was great. The best part of the entire story, in my opinion, is Tom Cruise was not Tom Cruise in the movie. Tom Cruise was not a hero. He was a coward. I mean, he opens the movie just begging to get out of this war.
I mean, he starts running.
Yeah, he's like, no,
in a federal building, thinking he can get away.
He has to be basically date raped to get into this war. That's what I'm saying. They had to roofie Tom Cruise to get his ass in the battlefield. Right. That to me is already a better story than I've seen him do in a long time, because it challenged him. You know, he's so used to being the hero. I love that aspect.
Yeah, we're not going to spoil any aspects really of the story, but for those who are kind of wondering, how does someone, you know, of Cruise's age perhaps become a newbie soldier? You know, he's a major in the military, but he's a media guy. He's there to do interviews, to get out there in front of cameras. He doesn't fight. He doesn't, you know, he's not an infantry guy. And when suddenly he's told that he's going to be on the front lines to sell this war to the people, he doesn't quite like that. So he definitely starts to run. That's why he starts off as a coward. And I do think that's a great evolution of his character, of going from this, yeah, you're going to have to tase me, bro, to get me to fight, to becoming a true, honest hero. But, you know, for this kind of film, if the cast can't carry that kind of heavy story, you're dead in the water. What did you guys think of Cruise and Blunt and Bill Paxton? These guys were really the three biggest faces in the movie. Brendan Gleeson plays a good General Brigham. I enjoyed the few scenes he was in, and there were some other soldiers who were peppered throughout it, but really this is Cruise and Blunt's movie. What did you think of their chemistry and their performances, Scott? I mean, Aaron.
Scott? Did you just call me Scott?
I did. For some reason, I think about him all the time.
I don't think we're friends anymore.
I think he just pulled a Ron Burgundy moment personally. He had Scott written down on some notes and just read the notes.
You can't prove that.
Tom Cruise, funny as hell. See, I'm not one of those people that hate on him. I think the guy is a good actor. I don't think every movie he makes is fantastic, but he's a good actor and he's solid and he loves making movies. I never really have a problem with him. He jumps on some couches and he believes in whatever Zeus or Xeon or whatever the hell that Scientology crap is. I don't care. He's funny, he's a good actor, and he's entertaining. Emily Blunt was a surprise because she's really the hero of the movie for me, and I thought she was fantastic. And
she is one full metal bitch, let me tell you.
That's what they call her, so Brian's not being a sexist either.
And that actually comes from the book.
It sure does, yeah.
Yeah, her character in it is called the Full Metal Bitch.
That's really all. And Bill Paxton, I think, gives one of the best performances I've seen him give in a long time.
There's a little bit of Chet, I felt like, in him. Just a little bit of that sadistic, you know, I've got power over you kind of guy.
I guess to kind of put some perspective on this, Tom Cruise is my Kurt Russell or Dennis Quaid for Aaron.
Wow.
I think he is one of the very few actual movie stars left. Maybe because I respect his work ethic. I respect his love for cinema. He said in a recent interview that, you know, he watches a movie a day. Mm-hmm. To, you know, and he loves movies that much. And it doesn't matter if it's a love story or action or horror or foreign or old or new. You know, he's always watching because he loves movies and he loves his craft so much, and he immerses himself in it. And I cannot respect that anymore. All that being said, Emily Blunt is fantastic. This is the first role where she's really stood out to me. I like her work, but she's just kind of been, just kind of part of the background as far as I was concerned. But in this, she is tough as nails, and just a really strong heroine that really carries the other half of this movie. And of course, Bill Paxton is kind of the levity with this, but I loved it. I thought they were all fantastic.
What I liked about Emily Blunt, her performance, is that while she is this full metal bitch, just tough as nails character, there were a lot of moments where I could see in her face, compassion for what is happening to Tom Cruise, because she knows. She's been there. Mm-hmm. She was suffering the same time loop that he was for a while of her life. And so she understands what's going on. She feels, I think, bad for him. There are some moments of real emotional connection between the two of them at parts in the film. And so she wasn't just this constant cast iron character. She actually had a bit of humanity to her. And I think sometimes movies, when they try to portray someone as powerful as she is, they go a little too far away from the humanity that should underlie all characters. And so I thought she did really well. But Cruise, he's yet to fail me in a movie. I think he's always top notch. And while I don't know,
Top Gun
or Top Gun, yeah, he's always in the danger zone.
Wow, we're just gonna keep going with those, huh?
But with a film like this, if the special effects are practically a co-star in and of themselves, what did you think about the level of the effects in this movie? And what did you think about Doug Liman as a director? Do you think anybody could have done this film, or do you think he brought something to it that maybe nobody else could?
I thought he brought a good, because he's got experience with the Jason Bourne movies, right?
Mm-hmm. He did the first one, and then he did Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Okay. Both have a lot of action. I thought he brought a strong action element. It didn't, while it was a science fiction movie, it didn't feel like you had to be a sci-fi geek to enjoy it. And the way that he just had that good mix of, of course, this is more of the story, but the way that he showed it to us visually with the humor, again, I know we've harped on that a lot, but it is a huge element in this movie, and I think it is a very important element, and I thought he portrayed it well. Thought he did good, and as far as the effects goes, it was great, and I've heard nothing but rave reviews on the 3D version of it. I didn't watch the 3D. I don't know if either of you, I doubt.
I saw it in 3D.
You did?
Yeah, it was very good.
Too.
Yeah, it was very good, I thought. It wasn't, I wouldn't recommend it necessarily. It's just, if you're one of those people that enjoy 3D, this is one of the better ones I've seen. It
had shit blown up in your face. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I like stuff blown up. Doug Liman, in my opinion, knows how to shoot a fun action movie, except for, Jumper, because, wow, really? But action flicks that get repeat viewing for me are not just these big and dumb movies. It has to have something that has a little bit more character, a lot of humor, and that's where I think he nails it. Just like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, it was a fun movie. It was a fun action movie. That's what this is. I think the trailers don't do anything to convey that. And one thing I do want to mention on his direction is he cleverly edited the movie so that, even though he's reliving the same day and there's little bits of the day he has to do repeatedly, he edits it almost as though it's that it's all continuous. Sometimes that's how it feels. So, you're seeing it like he gets a little closer to his, whatever that goal is for that particular scene. And he might falter a few times, but every little cut gets him a little closer to that goal. And I really love that way to edit it because it made the repetitive day thing not so tedious.
Right. Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree.
Mundo.
I really enjoyed Doug Liman's direction. I do think he's better at blending action and humor that's just not cheesy humor, better than a lot of action directors are. And I enjoyed what he brought to this film. So, guys, $1 to $10, what would you give this film? Aaron?
Well, I thought the ending was lazy on its own merits, but overall the movie is just too damn fun. You just can't ignore how fun the movie is. So if $10 is the full price of admission, I give it $8.50. Legitimately the nicest surprise I've had at the theater this year.
Brian?
Everything that he just said, absolutely 8.5.
I think that the trailers do a terrible job. They paint a very bleak movie.
Terrible.
A very heavy, ponderous kind of action film. That is exactly not what this movie is. Though I do think there's a lot of Tom Cruise hate that's floating out there as well. I'd give it 8.5 as well. It was surprisingly good and well done. So I think we're all in agreement. We all gave it the same 8.5. I definitely think this is a movie that all of the people who are listening, if you like action and sci-fi, if you don't see this movie, I think you're doing yourself a terrible disservice.
It definitely plays well on the big screen too.
Indeed.
Yeah, it does. And I also saw the movie that beat Tom Cruise. Beat Tom Cruise yet again. The Fault in Our Stars. And I got to tell you, this is not a movie I was dying to see. We've heard a lot of scuttlebutt, that's the correct term, the last few weeks about this movie. It's based on a book by John Green. He has a huge internet presence, so you never really know, is it internet buzz? Is it real buzz? What is it? Well, let me explain what it is. Hazel and Gus both have cancer. Already, fun movie of the year, right? Gus
Laugh a minute.
Exactly. Oh, so funny. Gus is in remission and Hazel is terminal. They meet each other in this support group, and Hazel has relegated herself to a life of loneliness. She essentially knows she's going to die, so she stops living. Gus, on the other hand, he just wants to live and savor every single moment of life. That's all he wants to do. He wants to be remembered. It's very important to him to be remembered. They bond over their mutual love of books, and especially one particular author. See, Justin, you already want to see this movie, don't you? It just became your favorite. And they become...
Only if I'm the author they're in love with.
It actually is Justin McCumber. It's weird.
That would be awesome.
They end up becoming...
Though I couldn't blame them.
They begin a love affair that would seem to only... The possible outcome has to be pain. First, the cancer part. I really thought this was going to be one of the most depressing movies ever made in the history of sappy disease movies. It just, nothing about it sounded like this isn't going to be warm or sweet. It's just going to be awful. And all I'm going to do is be sad the entire movie. They treated the characters and the disease itself for what it was. It's tragic, but it's only as tragic as you allow it. Does that make sense? So the way that they presented it, it's not really about the cancer. It's about how you treat whatever it is you have in life. You know, everybody's going to have something. How do you handle it? How do you address it? How do you cope and continue with it? These types of films also only work if the relationship between the two leads work, even though it was a little weird because they were brother and sister in Divergent. But as Gus Ansel Elgort, I have no idea how to say that correctly, but he was delightful. A charming guy, wants nothing more than to do whatever is left of his life, and he wants to do it with Hazel. Very sweet performance. But where I was completely shocked was Shailene Woodley. She's Hazel in the movie. I thought she was just okay in Divergent. Now, Justin, you remember, you and I disagree. You thought she was very good. I thought she was just serviceable, I guess. Mm-hmm. But here, she moved me in every single scene she's in. And I know she fought for this role, so I don't know if it's just because the material really speaks to her or what, but her heart and soul is in every single frame. Her strength, her stubbornness that actually made sense to me, her warmth. I mean, she won me over. And in turn, I wholeheartedly believed in this couple. They seem like a couple I would want. If I was him, I'd want to be in love with her. And if I was her, I'd want to be in love with him. And whatever that says about me, go figure. And I also want to mention how great Hazel's parents are because they're played by Laura Dern and Sam Trammell. Because it was nice to see parents of a dying kid who do everything to help their kid live, instead of selfishly locking them away and trying to keep them from everything. And it was nice to see that because you don't see that in movies or books or anything else. It's always the parents wanting to keep their kids away from everything because they're so afraid they're going to die from something else. And I really don't think most parents would be like that in this situation. The film itself goes on a little bit too long, probably like I have. But overall, it's honestly one of the sweetest love stories I've seen in a long time. I was all misty-eyed and heartbroken, and I would recommend this to anyone. So if $10 is the full price of admission, The Fault in Our Stars is worth $7.50. Okay?
There you go.
There you go.
Good job.
It was very. You guys should see it. You might wait. Brian, you might even have to check in your man card.
Oh, I probably would.
Come out crying like a bitch.
Yep, like a Sally.
It was so good.
Speaking of The Fault in Our Stars, it was a huge opening. It brought in $48 million worth of couples this past weekend. It's already profitable. It was
a lot of cancer love right there.
That's a lot of cancer love. That's a lot of treatments right there.
Tom Cruise probably wish he could go back in time and redo the marketing for this.
Yeah. Maleficent and her little rapescapade dropped only 50%. The best drop since April. Yeah, she came out today. Did you hear this? She came out today and said, oh, it was a metaphor for... I'm like, why do you guys stir this up, Angelina? Let it go.
Leave it alone.
Let it go. It's the best drop since April for a big film to $34 million for a $128 million total. That's great. Edge of Tomorrow apparently needs to repeat this weekend a lot in order to break even because it costs a lot of money to make. But it made $28.7 million. It's not a flop. It's doing okay overseas, but it's going to take a while to make its money back.
Is this another Pacific Rim movie that the fans love, but it just doesn't get the money?
It seems like it really does.
All right, folks, we have got 3 movies we're going to be discussing this week, all of them opening up on June 20th. The first one is The Rover. If you've not heard of this one, don't worry. I really hadn't heard much about it either. It's directed by David Mitchell, and it stars Guy Pearce and Robert Pattinson. Don't let that throw you off just yet. 10 years after a global economic collapse, a hardened, ruthless ex-soldier tracks down the men who stole his only possession. As he travels through the lawless Australian outback, he takes a damaged young man as his unwitting accomplice. Aaron, after all of the wounds have closed following the Twilight films finishing, are you ready to sink into potentially a good Robert Pattinson performance?
Yes, I actually saw this trailer and think it looks really good, and love Guy Pearce, love what Robert Pattinson is doing in this movie. I don't want to just forego it because I didn't like the Twilight series. You know, I'm sure the guy has talent. I have seen him in one or two other, I can't remember what I've seen him in, but I know I've seen him in something where I didn't think he was bad, and I actually thought he was the best thing about Twilight. So I'm willing to. He seems like he's taking a chance here. This is a very low budget independent movie. I'm willing to take a chance on him.
See, I personally think Anna Kendrick was the best thing about Twilight, but
it's you.
Like you, I am willing to give this one a try. I love Guy Pearce. I don't know if this is supposed to, this is supposed to take place in Australia. Robert Pattinson seems to have a Southern American redneck voice, so I don't know what's going on with that. But I'm curious. Sounds good. I think it looks edgy. The guy that directed this also directed Animal Kingdom prison movie from about 10 or more years ago, which is very good. So I'll give it a shot.
Never saw that one, but I think Guy Pearce is an incredibly underused actor. Every time I've seen him on screen, he impresses the shit out of me. So I'm sure this would be nothing but yet another one that does that. I think Robert Pattinson is a good actor. I think he's unfortunately been hated on by a lot of people because of the Twilight movies, but come on, no actor should ever be defined by one franchise or one performance. So let's give the guy a break, shall we? Next up, Clint Eastwood directs Jersey Boys. The story of 4 young men from the wrong side of the tracks in New Jersey who come together to form the iconic 1960s rock group, The Four Seasons. This one stars Christopher Walken, Francesca Eastwood, who's, I'm assuming, a relative of Clint Eastwood, John Lloyd Young, who's playing Frankie Valli, Vincent Piazza, Catherine Naducci, and a bunch of other people who I don't really know who they are. Brian, I don't know if you're a fan of Clint Eastwood's directorial efforts, and I don't know if you're a fan of The Four Seasons. Is there anything about this movie that's making its way back to you? That was a stretch. I'm sorry.
Babe.
Yeah, that was.
You should have thrown a Babe in there. If you would have thrown Babe in, I would have been on board. 100%.
Making my way back to you, babe. Come on.
I like Eastwood as a director. So it's not necessarily a draw, or just because he's directing it doesn't necessarily mean that I'll rush to go see it. Though Francesca is his daughter, just for the record,
and she is pretty.
Yes, she is.
So luckily, she must have had a pretty wife or mother, because Christopher Walken, Clint Eastwood is not a handsome man.
I disagree with that. I think he's a handsome man, and if you told him otherwise, he'd shoot you in the face.
He probably would. He's like, you must be feeling lucky.
The subject matter, though, is not really my thing. I do have a somewhat respect or like for that era of music, but I don't know if I really want to go see a movie about the Four Seasons. I really not that big a fan of Frankie Valli and the way the story's being told with the breaking the fourth wall or whatever the term is.
Fourth, fifth, whichever.
Fourth, fifth, whatever. Where they're talking to the camera. It's all right. I mean, a little distracting, but whatever. I don't know. I'm not. I could take it or leave it.
What about you, Aaron?
I definitely want to see it. I think Jersey Boys is supposedly a fantastic musical. I think Clint Eastwood's a fantastic director. Put them together, this is bound to be at least a very good movie. I have very rarely seen a Clint Eastwood directed movie that I did not like. So I'm on board. Even if it is a little odd for a summer film. I don't know, it feels more winter.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Yep.
I am really, no, I'm not interested in this at all. While I appreciate the Four Seasons place in music history, I can't stand Frankie Valli's voice. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. So sitting down to watch an entire movie about, wow, that voice. Yeah, that just sounds like torture to me, especially when we've got something like the James Brown biopic that's coming up, which I'm much more interested in seeing rather than this one. So I doubt you'll see me in a theater for this. Last film, Think Like a Man 2. Now, this is directed by Tim Story, who I believe directed the first one as well as the Fantastic Four movies. He's a pretty decent director, really, I think in my book, barring the Fantastic Four movies. Stars Kevin Hart, Gabrielle Union, Wendy McClendon-Covey, Jerry Ferrera, Michael Ealy. All the couples are back for a wedding in Las Vegas, but plans for a romantic weekend go awry when their various misadventures get them into some compromising situations.
What?
Imagine that!
In Vegas? God, why do people always have the Vegas trip I want? I never get to have it when I go.
I go there and I just run out of money at the slot machine.
Just going, shit, I'm broke.
Yeah.
Where the hose?
And that's before I even get out of the airport.
That's right. The compromising situations that threaten to derail the big event. I have grown to become a big Kevin Hart fan. For some reason, just either I didn't see him, I think because he's so short, or something, but I didn't see really anything he had done until Ride Along came out. And then I started watching all of his stand-up specials, and damn, Kevin Hart is funny. Whether he's doing stand-up or comedy in a movie. I think he's fantastic. And I like all the other actors involved in this. I actually wouldn't mind seeing this and checking out the first one. What do you guys think?
Well, I reviewed the first one. This is when it came out like 2 years ago on the show. And I really liked it. I thought it was hysterical. So I can't wait to see this one. This is probably one of my more anticipated comedies this summer. Yeah, I said it, and I'm proud of it.
I just didn't realize that the first one came out so recently.
Yeah, it was like 2 years ago, I think. And it was really funny. And it was actually very interesting. It was insightful and funny. I definitely recommend it. I don't think this movie is going to be the same kind of film, but it's definitely going just more for comedy, where the first one had a little bit more insight. But I want to see it.
Sure as shit. April 20th, 2012.
You ever doubt me? Don't doubt me again.
I didn't doubt you. I was just making sure. And same director, same actors.
Actually, this movie makes me kind of want to go back and watch the first one also. I don't know if I'll rush out to the movies to see it, but I think I will check this out at some point, and definitely go back and check out the original. Try to gear up for it, but
just watch them back to back.
Yeah, well, I don't know about going all crazy like that, but
maybe if they had it at a drive-in.
Hey, this ain't Lord of the Rings, all right? I ain't watching these back to back.
God, I hope it's shorter, because, man.
It would have to be. All right, guys. Of these three films, The Rover, Jersey Boys, and Think Like a Man 2, which one are you most likely to head out to theaters and check out? Brian?
The Rover.
Aaron?
Think Like a Man 2.
I'd have to go Think Like a Man 2. The Rover looks great, but to me, it's more something I would want to enjoy at home. Think Like a Man, while I'm not a big comedy guy in theaters, it's something that I think I might enjoy with a good audience. So I'd have to go with that. But really, that or The Rover, either one, I would have a good time with.
Yeah, I want to see The Rover too. And Jersey, I actually want to see all three, but Man, that's a lot of movie time for one, week.
Yep.
I don't want to see 3 movies in a week. You can listen and subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher Radio app.
You're no Tom Cruise.
I don't want to see him in a theater 3. I don't have the money, Tom Cruise. I actually have to go to jobs.
Oh, he's got apparently from that interview, he has a massive theater room, and he actually brings in buys the 35 millimeter prints and all of those to watch them. He goes back to the originals.
Here's the thing
that takes a rich man.
I want to tell Hollywood people, when you're trying to relate to the common man, don't tell us about your fantastic studio you had built in your house where I got every possible way to watch a movie and the biggest screen possible and the best sound possible.
Yeah. And when you're asked a question, how big is your screen? You just laugh and say, it's big.
Yeah. That's all you need to say. We got it.
I don't need metric footage,
You can also find us at, I don't know what I said now, but iTunes, Stitcher, through our RSS feed. There's a new episode of our show every Thursday.
What's this movie?
What's this movie? Each week we play ours or a listener's suggested clip from a movie, and if you think you know what the clip is, email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com, and next week we'll give you a proper host shout-out. Last week's answer was Brian's pick, and it was Bedazzled. Got a lot of write-ins on this one. Paula Sell, Wally Kulik, who actually likes our show but hates that movie for some reason.
What?
That's what he said. Doug Clayton, Austin Price, John Davenport, Sandy Koki, Notleaf Felton. Notleaf, is that a name or is that just a status? I don't know what that means. I hope that's cool. Whatever it is, I like it. Jacob Ba, Zach Parkerson. Congratulations to all of you. This week, it's Justin's turn. And if you think you know what this is, and you got to pick the correct film, email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com, and you'll get a whole shout-out next week. Forgot completely what I was going to say. And you'll get a whole shout-out next week.
Was that the Mandarin?
Get a whole shout-out.
Here's your clip.
You'll get a whole shout-out. Sweet.
Who's the bride?
Don't know. The name on the marriage certificate is Arlene Machiavelli. That's a fake. We've all just been calling her the bride on account of the dress.
He didn't tell she was pregnant. Man, it'd be a mad dog to see a goddamn good-looking gal like that in the head. Look at her. Hay-colored hair, big eyes. She's a little blood-spattered angel.
All right, there's your clip. Also, real quick note. Last week we were talking about Reading Rainbows coming back, and now The Magic School Bus is coming to Netflix with 26 new episodes in 2016, so get your kids ready. I just wanted to mention that real quick. Yay. Of course, nobody here has kids, so you really don't give a shit, do you?
I've never even heard of it.
The Magic School Bus, it talked about science.
No, I don't. Did that make it down south? I don't know.
They made it.
Nope.
They made it.
Did it have monster trucks in it?
Yes.
Did it have big knobby tires on it?
All right, I've been pretty curious how they were going to handle this, and it looks like Marvel has cast Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk, a.k.a. Kingpin, for the new Daredevil Netflix series that is finally shaping up. Justin, how do you feel about this, and especially replacing the late Michael Clark Duncan?
Well, I mean, they're not if he's replacing Michael Clark Duncan, then the guy that they've got playing Daredevil's, I don't see it really as a replacement.
Yeah, it's not a replacement.
It's a TV show starting from scratch. I think the casting of D'Onofrio is amazing. I think he's a very good actor, and I really can't think of anything I've ever seen him in that I didn't enjoy, though I never watched Law and Order, Criminal Intent, Special Victims, Naval, SUV, whatever the fuck. But of his film work, I've enjoyed him quite a bit. He is, I've seen him thin, I've seen him bigger. What I'm really curious about is if they are going to make him fatten up for the role, because Kingpin is a huge guy, or if they're going to give him like a fat suit.
Have you seen D'Onofrio lately?
I mean, I've seen his face, and he's a big guy, but the Kingpin looks like he weighs a good 500-600 pounds.
I think D'Onofrio could get there with a pizza. I don't think
D'Onofrio's kissing close to that just yet.
I think that, I don't know. I would opt for keep him as he is, maybe tone him up a little bit, maybe add a very minimal fat suit. But
Maybe just
'cause
something around the midsection.
because the Kingpin is as large as he is very nimble and very agile for his size.
And strong.
So, yeah. But I think it's I think this is, once I heard that, I was just like, wow, this is perfect casting. And I agree with you. I've never seen him. He's one of those guys that, we talked about a couple months ago, as far as being, maybe underused or probably should deserve bigger roles or whatever. But he's one of those guys that's kind of falls in that category. You don't see him very often.
He's quite often a character guy.
Yeah, he's a fantastic actor, and I think this is just a fantastic casting.
Well, Walking Dead, I think this is funny because some people are losing their shit about this in good and bad ways. Walking Dead has
The internet?
losing
its shit?
It's amazing
Come
how the
on,
internet
say
works.
it.
I've never heard of it.
It's insane. Walking Dead has been planned out to 12 seasons, according to the show creators. So there's two questions. One, should it go this long? And two, what is a sweet spot for a show like this?
I don't know. It's hard to even figure out what season it's on. Or I know what did we wrap up? 4?
I think we have, I think it
4
was
just
season
finished,
4.
yeah.
And it feels like it's much longer. I don't even consider it. I don't even think of it in seasons anymore. I just go, okay, well, it's October, it's starting up again, and then over the holidays, I know it's coming again in February. I don't even think about it being in seasons hardly. So if we're just at 4, if it's going out to 12, that just sounds like it's too long. Don't get me wrong. The fan part of me wants to just soak it all in, but gosh, at this rate, you're doing 16 episodes in a year, 7 or 8 seasons, maybe 9 tops, but 12, I don't know.
We're all going to be The Walking Dead by the time this thing ends.
The
real zombie apocalypse will have occurred.
And we're still going to be watching it, looking for tips. One of the new episodes coming out. Shit. What do I do? Man, I got to tell you, this to me sounds like kicking the tires a little too hard. I love the show. Me and Brian love. Yeah, Brian. Well, me and Brian and I, however we want to do it, love the show. Justin likes the show. I don't know if you quite like it as much as we do.
I love it.
Do you? Okay, so we all.
I love it, but it's such a downer of a show that it's hard for me to feel the same level of excited passion that I do for a show like Game of Thrones or something like that. It's a show that I watch and it's like by the time it's done, I'm tired. But I've enjoyed it.
Exactly. And you know what it does for me is it's one of those shows that I love the characterizations really, and how they're working the characters and putting them in different groups, and they're really expanding that and killing people off. People are like, oh, they kill everybody. Yeah, I think you need to in that world to make it work. And yes, you could go a few years by doing that because you could just move characters around, kill them off, bring in new ones, keep it fresh. But at some point, that world will get to be too much. And I think 12 years for a great show is too long. So even though I really like Walking Dead, I love Walking Dead, 12 years is too long. I definitely, for me, personally, for any series, 7, 8 years, maybe 9 if it's a comedy or something.
What's up, X-Files?
Yeah. Hey, X-Files, you should have ended in season 7, like I'm saying. I just think no matter what happens, no matter how good the writers are or the intentions are, once you cross that certain 7 or 8 years, the writing starts to die. It just starts to get poor.
This is about zombies, so that's perfect.
There you go.
The writing will pick itself back up and keep going.
I mean, how many zombie stories can you tell? It's not like Game of Thrones. You've got and don't get me wrong, I don't want that many seasons of Game of Thrones, and I love that show. But that at least you've got.
You may be getting that many.
Yeah, you might by the time if he ever gets his books written. But all these, that is a world that is huge, and it makes sense to me because there's all these different things going on. This world, it's a bunch of different characters trying to stay alive, and that's it. I just think at some point that starts to get old.
Yeah, you need something more driving these characters than just survival. There needs to be something they're moving toward, whether it's fixing this so that they don't turn into zombies, or finding a boat to go to a tropical island a la the end of Dawn of the Dead. They have to be moving towards something. There needs to be a goal, an objective. And just surviving after 1 or 2 seasons, that ceases to be enough motivation for me.
I don't know. I just feel like it's, no matter how good it is, it'll still end lackluster. It'll still be anticlimactic.
All right, Justin, real quick, you saw a movie called I'll Follow You Down, which we talked about a little while ago for the trailer, and apparently it's on video on demand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw it on iTunes where it was available. I'll Follow You Down. We did talk about it a few weeks ago. It's the film that stars Gillian Anderson, Haley Joel Osment, and Rufus Sewell. Rufus Sewell's character is a father, and he's also a brilliant physicist. In the film, after the disappearance of a young scientist on a business trip, his son and wife struggle to cope, only to make a bizarre discovery years later, one that may bring him home. At the heart of it, of the story, it is a science fiction story, but 95% of the movie is filmed as more of a drama. There is very little science fiction doodaddery to be had until close to the end of the film. For most of it, you're watching Gillian Anderson just kind of devolve as a wife whose husband went missing. She doesn't know how or why or where he went, and she just has a hard time of it. Her son, who grows up to be an odd-looking Haley Joel Osment, he happens to be a mathematical prodigy, but he's also dealing with the loss of his father as well as dealing with his mother. It's a sad movie, and it's tonally a bit odd because it does vary between a drama piece and then some science fiction-y stuff will come in and then drama. I enjoyed it all in all, but it's not a movie I think I ever need to watch again. If I gave it 1 out of 10, yeah, I'd give it a solid 5.5.
And I real quick saw Cold in July, which is now on video on demand and limited release, and it stars Michael C. Hall as a dad who accidentally shoots an intruder, and then the father of that intruder starts stalking him. I thought this movie was going to be like Cape Fear, and it goes completely different directions. It's a little noir film, and Michael C. Hall is really good at playing, well, obviously he played Dexter for so long, but he's so good at playing quiet menace that I didn't realize how good he is at playing quiet coward. So you really have to see it to see how it plays out, but the townsfolk start to think he's a hero from what he does. You know, he kills an intruder, which some people would do. And he doesn't believe so. He actually feels horrible because he killed this man, and he wants to know more about this man and whatever. And as the movie progresses, he becomes the guy, by the end of the movie, that they thought he was at the beginning. So it's a really interesting take on noir film. It's a little slow. It takes a few weird steps, and the dad is played by Sam Shepard. And also Don Johnson pops up, and he is hysterical. It's not the best movie ever, but it is definitely a fun little noir film that I recommend. If $10 full price, I give it $6. DVD and Blu-ray, Scotty would give you a much better feel for what these movies are. I'm not gonna, because we got dads to talk about. June 17th, the Lego Movie. Everything is awesome. Grand Budapest Hotel is out. Joe is out. I really like Joe. Check that out. It's a good movie. Walk of Shame. Justin liked that one. Check that out. 13 Sins, I've heard a lot about it. It's a good little thriller is what I've heard. And Ron Perlman, I think, is in that. And The Machine, which Justin talked about a few weeks back.
Give it a shot. It's surprisingly good.
So there you go, guys. Check all those out. Except for Lego Movie. You already know that's awesome. Because it's
and we're pretty sure Grand Budapest Hotel. I'm sure Scotty would love it.
Now, every couple weeks, we did this last week, but we actually need to do it again. Every couple of weeks, we like to recast a film that's essentially a classic. It's 20 years old or more. And we're going to recast it with modern actors just to see how would we do that movie if we could do it now. This week it is Justin's pick, and I believe you got to do a McConaughey.
Well, I'm not going to do McConaughey, but I have to recast a role that he did. Now, this is Dazed and Confused, was given to me by...
Brian.
Who gave me this? Brian? You gave me this one? This was probably one of the hardest ones I've ever had to do, and mostly because it has to star mostly young, 25 and under actors to play these roles. And I just don't know that many young actors. But after spending a fairly considerable amount of time I feel like I put together a decent, perhaps solid list that you guys will have to tell me.
Ooh.
Okay.
Now, for Mike Newhouse, he was played by Adam Goldberg. For those who remember, he was the long, dark-haired character. He was very nibbish. But suffice to say, he's a bit of a cowardly character who likes to think he's tough, but when he actually gets into a fight, gets his ass beat. And, yeah, I went with replacing Adam Goldberg. I went with Freddie Highmore.
Oh, I like him. Yeah. Bates
He
Motel.
plays on Bates Motel. He plays the role of
Norman Bates.
Yes, I was getting to there. He jumped in front of me. He plays Norman Bates. He's very good at playing quiet, kind of quirky characters.
Okay.
Now, for Ron Slater, who's played by Rory Cochrane, he was the stoner with the green shirt, the backwards hat, talking about, look at the back of a dollar bill, man.
Watch the leather, man.
To replace him, I went with Michael Angarano. For those who maybe saw The Brass Teapot, he starred in that. He starred in several films, but he's not one of those actors that name brings a face. Go to IMDb, type in Michael Angarano, and you'll see who I'm talking about. He is the same kind of sarcastic actor. I think he would play that stoner just as much to the hilt as Rory Cochrane did. It's not a heavy lifting role, but I think he would be fun to just watch him be a stoner and list out all these conspiracies that he has to do in the movie.
Call.
I like that.
All right, now Randall Pink Floyd, Jason London, he's supposed to be the star of the movie, and the movie does center around him mostly, but I think we all could agree that Matthew McConaughey's character was, when he came on screen, he stole it, and most people remember him more than they do any other character.
So does he. He references himself from this movie in like every speech he ever does. So.
All right. Now, Jason London played him. For my remake, I'm going with Logan Lerman, who played Percy Jackson.
Okay.
He's kind of a tall, lanky guy. Randall Pink Floyd doesn't have to do a whole lot in this movie, but smoke a joint, ride around in cars, and I think run once to catch a football. Logan Lerman's kind of got a similar look. He's lanky. It's not a role that, again, requires heavy lifting. I like him. While I didn't care for the Percy Jackson movies, I did like him in the first one, and I've seen him in some other things. And I think he's a good little actor, and he'd do the most with this. All right. Now, here's going to be my controversial one. It is fucking hard to find an actor who could take Matthew McConaughey's Wooderson and maybe do it justice. It's hard to find anybody who looks like him. It's hard to find anybody who sounds like him. Let's remember, Wooderson was not a high schooler in this film. He was several years out of high school. He just liked hanging with them because the girls, he gets older and they stay at the same age, man. That's his favorite part about high school. So I went with an actor who was a little bit older than the other actors. He's not going to be the one you think of most, but the guy I landed on, Armie Hammer. I think he could pull off the Southern accent. I think that he could pull off that kind of Southern casualness. There were no other actors in that age range that I felt like could take that role and do anything with it. But I like Armie Hammer. I like what I've seen of him in just about anything, even though I still haven't seen The Lone Ranger. I don't know if people are going to like that choice, but if you don't, fucking give me a better one, because I tried finding it.
What about Taylor Kitsch?
He's too old at this point.
Yeah, Taylor Kitsch. When I looked, McConaughey was about
good pick
30.
though. He would be a good pick.
I just because I just like half the movies he's in, he's got that long, especially like when thinking of him as Gambit in that kind of Southern accent. It just hit me. Just throwing it out there.
That's not a bad pick. Unfortunately, it's all a matter of finding somebody in that right age range.
Right.
I think Timothy Oliphant, back when he was younger,
he would have
probably
been perfect.
Would have been a great Wooderson, but he's too old for it now. So, Armie Hammer, love it or hate it. Let me know if you've got a better choice, because I'm genuinely interested to hear if people have a better idea for that guy.
Okay, good picks. Now, your movie that you're giving me, I believe.
I know, Aaron, I know you're a huge horror fan, but I don't know if the following franchise means as much to you as it does for me, but I want you to recast the original Hellraiser. Now, the characters that I want you to recast a character not of Larry, who is kind of like the main human male actor, but I want you to recast his brother, who I think is a more interesting character, Frank, who is played by Sean Chapman.
I'm going to have to go rewatch that movie. You know that, right?
Hey, get on it.
All right.
It's on Netflix, so it's free.
It's been a while, so I don't remember.
I want you to recast his wife, Julia, played by Claire Higgins. His daughter, who in the book is not his daughter, Kirsty Cotton, played by Ashley Lawrence. And I want you to recast Pinhead, who is played by
Doug Bradley.
Doug Bradley, exactly.
Can we just have Doug Bradley come back?
No.
I think he could still do it.
No, in this recasting, he is dead.
Wow.
He is unavailable.
Wow. All right.
It was a sad, traumatic event.
It seems drastic, but we'll go with it.
Shit happens.
Let's go to our From the Outside In topic, where this week, movie and TV dads. Now, I want to tell you right off the bat, so you know where we all stand. Brian had a nice, well-adjusted upbringing. Good for him. I mean, he's diddled, but we don't want to talk about that. Justin, he grew up not liking his dad a whole lot, and mine wasn't around. So all three of us bring a little something different to our taste for what we want in a screen papa. So my question, first of all, is what characteristics made or maybe still make for a great dad on screen for you?
I think somebody that is a teacher. He teaches his kids. You know, they use whatever, tragedy or maybe comedic event to turn it into a lesson and to kind of show how the kids should handle a situation.
For me, mine is as simple as well. It's love and understanding. You have to have both, but a father that loves his children and genuinely empathizes with them and wants to not really be their friend, but to be there for them in those moments when they need a father. That's something that was really lacking in my personal life. So if I see it on the screen, I feel a little better.
Mine is, it's quite simply people that remind me of my grandfather. Just, and I wish I could say it's a characteristic so much as it is just memorable. Has to be trustworthy, honest, decent, good, and willing to listen, which I think a lot of times in movies, they always convey the dad as he's the guy that doesn't say anything. He's very quiet, keeps to himself. He's very stern. He's just the guy throwing out discipline, like it's candy. And that's not a father to me. That's just some guy that's punishing you for stuff. To me, a father it's those characteristics. It's that common decency and that's relatability and hearing their child. And when you can convey that on screen, which is very hard to do, I think, those kind of characters always win me over every time. Do you guys think film or TV represents dads fairly, or do moms always get top billing? This can be an important conversation, I actually think. So,
well, I don't have any children, so I really don't have a lot of much of a dog in the fight. But my brother has children, and I've listened to him kind of grouse about the way that, especially television, but movies and TV both portray fathers. And I have to agree with him. I do get sick of the stereotype that as soon as a father has to be a father to his children and take care of them on his own without the wife around, he suddenly turns into a nincompoop who can't handle anything, and blenders tops are flying and shit spraying, kids are spraying poop out their butt, their diapers or whatever, and he just doesn't know how to handle it. I think there are a lot of fantastic fathers out there who are just as nurturing and loving and take just as good care of their children as the mothers do. I do think that it's easy joke to make the dad the comical one when it comes to dealing with child rearing, but I don't think it's accurate, and it's really kind of old. I do wish that movies and television presented fathers with a lot less slapstick and a lot more truth.
I will add to this that everybody has their cause, and whatever your cause is, that's fine for you. I really, that's your personal business. Mine is equal father's rights. I've always said that's something that is horribly lacking in this society, in our country. And unfortunately, the medium of television and film is a big part of that, because you still have that consensus by the population that women are excellent mothers because they came out of your wombs. You do the parenting fantastically, and dads, they just do what they can. They pay the bills, and they discipline, and that's really. And I'm sorry, that is not 2014 anymore. It's just not, and it's time for. We have constant change in film and television, where we have more gays represented on television, we have more minorities represented in film, or they're getting there. I don't think they're quite there, but they're getting there. But you don't have that changing, and I think it's sad that nobody ever brings that up, because there are a lot of single dads out there that are doing a lot of the work, and there's a lot of single moms that are shitty, and those dads have to pick up their slack, just like there are on the other side. I don't think that's fairly represented. I've always thought that was kind of a cheat from Hollywood.
I kind of see both sides of that, really. I think they're, for the most part, though. I mean, there are exceptions, but I think for the most part, they're, I guess, portrayed pretty well. I guess, kind of to argue Justin's point, not argue, but I guess I see the humor in that. I see the humor in the father maybe doing things that, let's say, maybe they improv, or there's an issue they have with a small kid, and they do a lot of the I don't have a diaper, so I'll grab a shirt or something and turn it into a diaper or something like that, and he's walking around with a wife beater for the rest of grocery shopping or something like that. I like that. I think that's funny. I think to a certain extent it may be a bit hyperbole or something, but I think it is. I think it's fairly accurate, generally speaking.
Oh, I disagree with that completely. Completely.
It depends on the dad.
It's just my perception.
No, I know, but that's
I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. It's just kind of how I see things. I see men as more practical, maybe problem solver type stuff, and women are just smarter. And so we just. We just, we see something and go, okay, hey, let me grab some duct tape, a handkerchief, and some baling wire, and I've got this kid a new outfit.
Jesus, you're never babysitting. Ever. Ever. I don't even want you coming over anymore if my kids are here.
Oh, man. So, but no, it's just, I see guys will grab something and make do with what they have, where, and that makes women cringe. And that is humorous to me. That is, and again, that's embellishment, that's extreme, but to a certain extent, there is some truth to it, and that's what I find funny.
Would it be just as funny if it was reversed?
Maybe. I mean, depending on the way it's done, I could see that. I mean, we do have, some pretty funny women out there, so. Like I say, if it's done right, sure.
All right. Well, let's get into what our favorites are shortly, but what are your absolute worst screen dads? I mean, Justin, you can't reference your own.
Well, he's not on a screen yet.
Well, I'm figuring you found a way. You found a loophole. Like you put him on a home video and you just threw him up. And you're like, guess what? He's in this movie called My Life.
And he was a shit dad.
So what are your absolute worst screen dads? You can pick one from film and one from TV. Who failed the most? Brian, you go first.
Okay. Worst TV dad, and I'm just going by characters. I'm not talking about I just didn't think he was a believable dad.
No,
something like that. It just Jack Bauer.
Can't really argue with you.
No, I can't argue that.
The worst TV dad almost in history, but I mean, America and CTF, whatever they
CTU.
CTU.
Show some respect.
They've always come before his kids, and I just it doesn't matter. Even in the more recent episodes, they're grown and he still can't tell them, you know what? Yeah, all right, I'll go with you this time.
Oh yeah, yeah. All right.
And no, really, just go to the airport. I'll be right there. Really, really, Jack. It won't. It's going to take you the next 23 hours to get through whatever else you've got going on. So
Yeah, that one, season 8 did irk me with that. I agree with you, actually. Yeah.
So,
What about film?
film is a guy. I don't know if you guys. I don't know if you've seen this movie. It's called We Are What We Are.
No. Huh.
It's kind of a horror thriller, lower budget kind of a movie.
I've seen it on iTunes, but I haven't watched it.
It is on Netflix, so it'll be free. Or, well, if you got Netflix.
Netflix cost money last time I checked.
It's free if you've already paid your bill.
It's free if you get Brian's password. There you go.
Which is?
Trailer Park 1.
Shit. You got enough of my damn passwords as it is. Cheap bastard. It's about this family. They've got a little situation that pops up, and they're kind of husband, wife, 2 daughters. The wife dies. There's a big event that happens, and the daughters are kind of forced to step up to carry on this family tradition. Let's just say there's interesting dinner choices.
Okay.
Are we talking cannibalism?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Spoiler alert. Tasty.
But it's got
spoiler alert.
It does have Michael Parks in it. You'll recognize him. Mm-hmm. And even Kelly McGillis.
What?
Who I didn't even realize she was alive. But
I didn't think she realized she was alive.
no.
Does she look like a man now? That's a yes.
Yeah.
The Eater?
So let's say it's been a long time since Top Gun.
Gotcha. For TV, I can go on and on about Walter White's and Clay Murrow's and Rick Grimes, all those guys, because Rick Grimes leaves his kid every 8 minutes, and that drives me fucking nuts. But no dad on TV pisses me off more than an absentee one. And for that honor, even though I love the character, it's Raylan Givens from Justified. This guy, who I consider a hero, a good man for the most part, and he had an awful dad of his own who was never around, and he keeps just continuing the cycle.
The kid's just a baby. She don't know nothing.
The kid's like a year old now, and he's like never sees it. He goes to where the kid
He
is.
even went to Florida, yeah.
And he just drives by. He's like, "Oh shit, I can't make it. Sorry, I got some law abiding to do." To me, that's worse than an abusive dad. I would rather have a dad kicking the shit out of me than not coming over. And it's such a good character. It seems like it's a great character moment for the show, but it just seems like a weird trait to have. But on
I
film,
just don't think he's a dad type.
obviously, because he hasn't shown up to be one yet. That's a requirement. It's in my license. I have to show up. I
I don't know.
try.
Some dads, it's best if they don't. I wish mine hadn't showed up.
Let's make this a therapy session, Justin. Why don't we hear on Father's Day? So somebody listen to this on Father's Day. Let's talk about it. No, for film, it's Dwight from This Boy's Life. If you've never seen that movie, it's a really good movie. It's Robert De Niro plays Dwight, and you have Leonardo DiCaprio, who's little Tobias Wolff. De Niro's he's an evil homophobe who he seems so normal until the door is closed, and then he becomes just almost sadistic. And the way that he plays it was genius, because it seems like every other asshole dad you would ever meet. Because in public, he's the nicest guy, seems like the best guy ever. Door shuts, he's an asshole. And really recommend that movie if you haven't seen it. Justin?
My worst TV dad. I'm going back to that show. Anthony Cooper from Lost. Now, Anthony Cooper was the father of John Locke, who was played by Quinn. Shit, what's his name?
Terry O'Quinn.
Terry O'Quinn, thank you. He was his biological father. Now, he starts off by conning one of our other characters' parents when he's just a child out of all of their money, which results in Sawyer's father killing his mother and then himself. Later on, he goes on to trick his own son into giving up a kidney for him only to disappear. And then when he does come back, he needs money. But when Locke threatens to mess up his schemes, Cooper throws him out of a 8th-story window where he falls, paralyzing him for life. Yeah, not a great dad. Not a good dad at all.
That was a really good call, yeah.
Worst movie dad? I mean, come on. How could I not say Darth Vader? I mean, he practically kills the mother of his children when he squeezes her throat. And then when he finds out that he's got these kids, he tries to turn his son, as evil as he is, and then use his daughter against his son. That's just not good parenting.
Look, there's nothing wrong with wanting to bring your kid into the family business so he can learn to be a man for himself.
It is when that family business is oppressing an entire galaxy.
It's all a matter of how you see it.
Being Hitler Jr. shouldn't be the life's goal of anybody.
And he took his hand off.
He did. He chopped off his own son's hand.
What an SOB.
What an asshole.
He's even right-handed. That's got to piss him off.
So
All
there
right,
you go.
what are your, let's go to happier dads. What are your absolute favorite film or TV dads? Those guys that you either wished were your real dad, Justin, or you admired how they chose to handle their little bastards.
For my favorite TV dad, I went with Michael Bluth, who is played by Jason Bateman from Arrested Development.
Aww.
You know, of all of the nitwits that are in the Bluth family, Michael is, in a lot of ways, the most honest, the most loving, giving of them all. I mean, he sticks around to do do the work none of them are willing to do, and yet he's got this son that he loves so much and takes the best care of that he possibly can. And if I'm going to have a dad, Michael Bluth isn't a bad dad to have. But I think even he is one-upped by my favorite TV dad, and that's Noah Levenstein, who's played by Eugene Levy in the American Pie movies.
You mean movie dad? You said he's one up by your TV dad.
I'm sorry, yeah, the movie dad.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic father. He doesn't always understand why his son does what he does, such as fucking a pie, but he doesn't judge him. He understands. He listens. He tries to offer advice. He never tries to make his son feel bad for the things that he does. He never punishes him, belittles him. He is a very empathetic and understanding father who tries to do more for his son than I think a lot of dads do for theirs. And I wish I'd have had him as my dad.
Any honorable mentions?
No, I had Walter White, of course, for worst TV dad. I mean, it really doesn't get much worse than that. But, and for movie dad, of course, Michael Keaton's Mr. Mom. I thought he was a great dad, trying the best that he could. And, even though he did play a bit of a nitwit dad, he did it with heart and honesty. And he did get better at it as he went along. But those are about as close as I'm getting to honorable mentions. You normally don't let us have those, so I wasn't prepared.
Brian. Well, we're one
you
shy.
You almost had him trained, Aaron. You almost had him trained. And then you go and screw it up.
Oh, monkey's got to get out of the cage now and again.
TV dad, I'm going with just the greatest one ever. That's Cliff Huxtable. Bill Cosby.
Oh.
It's easy. I know, low-hanging fruit and all that, but
that's not low-hanging fruit. That's a great TV dad. You don't have to apologize for that. I still wish he was my dad. Sorry, Dad, in case you're listening.
Yeah, it was just, everything about him was just a fantastic dad and probably a good template for, a lot of other dads. Could take a whole lot of lessons from him, apparently. Mm-hmm. Listening to y'all too, because you know what? All the bad jokes about y'all's fathers, mine was great. Love him to death. Everything about him.
That's good. That's good.
He was great.
That's good. Let's move on.
Good for fucking you.
Yeah. Good for you, jackass.
Yeah.
How was your birthday? Because mine was empty.
It was fantastic.
My dad is also a wonderful grandfather. He was just a bad father. So he learned his lessons late in life.
Good deal.
So there you go. That's as much insight as I care to share on that.
My going a little controversial here for best movie dad, Vito Corleone.
Holy shit. You got a sick fucking version of what a good dad is.
Granted, his day job was a bit, let's just say, on the fringes of society and legal and all that stuff. But
I'm going to make you an offer. That's how he sounded in everything you said. You want a dad like that? You can't hear the fuck he's saying.
Yeah, you could. He was constantly teaching. He was explaining. He did everything he possibly could to keep Michael out of the business. When he found out that Michael was, basically wrapped up in it now, it broke his heart. He was in tears. But later on, he's teaching him. He's always trying to keep Sonny in check. He loved his kids. It was all about his, family, both, of course, his business family, but everything about him was about his family, and everything revolved around them.
Okay.
So,
Any honorable mentions from you, Brian?
no, because I'm not an honorable mentions kind of guy, usually, most of the time. Because I try to follow your rules there.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's nice that you bitches decide this week is the week you're going to follow my rules. All right, Andy Griffith. I love Cliff Huxtable, but honestly, still to this day, and I know some people listening, who the fuck is Andy Griffith? If you've never seen the Andy Griffith Show, I recommend you go back and watch it, because there has never been in my particular life a TV dad that listens to his kid more than Andy Griffith did. And whenever he would talk to him or whenever he was giving advice, it was always like, I understand. I can understand. Because he always listened to Opie. Opie was a dumbass. And he would listen to him, hear him out, give him actual respectable advice. And it wasn't that 60s crap or 50s crap where it was just all goody two-shoe stuff. It was real advice that you would want a real dad to give. Just really heartfelt, genuine, and just honestly, one of the best actors to play in a sitcom, I think, ever. Now, Matlock, that's a different story. But the Andy Griffith Show was great. Movie. Well, I've got to, so that's why I threw an honorable mention, because I couldn't figure out a way to not mention both of them. One of my favorite quotes from a dad from a movie is this: "Any fool with a dick can make a baby, and only a man can raise a child." That's from Jason Furious Styles from Boys in the Hood. To this day, one of my all-time favorite movie dads, because you've got a guy, it was played by Lawrence Fishburne, a guy who just everything is, again, he lives in a shithole. He's not making a fortune. He's not doing all the things that people assume dads can easily do. He's got a tough life, and he refuses to just accept his son falling into that tough life, falling into the gang life, falling into crime, falling into an easy way out. He refuses to accept it. He has a hard knock life, and he wants his son to be a man, and he teaches him. I loved that performance. I think it's one of the best written dads on screen. And my other one is Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird. If you never saw it, it's just, he's this man that refuses to do anything but the right thing and be honorable to his children. I just absolutely love that movie and love that performance.
Yeah, he'd rather be pretty much a guy beaten down by the mob.
Yeah. The mob is in a collection of people.
Right.
Yeah.
A mob.
Yeah, a mob.
By a mob, than, be a bad example for his kids.
Mm-hmm. And just
and what about freaking Liam Neeson?
Brian Mills?
In Taken. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
And a lot of dads who would do that.
No, I mean, there's a lot. They say they would go, to the ends of the earth for their kid, but he literally did and went through like a country of people to get his daughter back.
He killed every Bosnian.
A lot of people to save his daughter.
Killed like every Bosnian in his way.
And a few Parisians.
I'm pretty sure. Now we got some listener picks. Let's talk about what these guys picked. Go ahead.
Junebug Johnston says Keith Mars or Darth Vader. I'm assuming these are the bad dads.
Well, no, Keith Mars is a good dad. And Darth Vader, maybe she liked his values.
Oh, Keith Mars. Oh, I was having a brain fart.
That's from Veronica Mars.
Yeah,
man.
he's a fantastic father. Darth Vader. I don't know if there's an argument that could be made for him being a good father, but Junebug, good on you.
Look, he fought the dark side to turn good at the very end.
At the very end, that doesn't make up for a lifetime of bullshit.
When he came down
to Catholics, all you got to do is say, "Hey, I'm sorry, God," and you go to heaven.
That's right.
For 85 years of being an asshole.
We don't discuss religion on the show no more.
This is
Some
true.
of us have already been chastened.
Brian,
edit that out, Aaron.
No way, Brian.
Steve Peterson says Phil Dunphy is my hero.
He is good. Yeah, Modern Family.
Oh, I haven't watched that yet.
That is a funny show.
Carlos Hernandez says, of course, Cliff Huxtable, if for nothing else, those awesome sweaters he always wore. And Tony Michelli for being a maid so his daughter could have a better life. Who was that? Was that Tony from...
Yeah, Who's the Boss?
Who's the Boss? Okay. All right. Movies, Jim's dad in American Pie. Woo! Thank you for agreeing with me. And Henry Jones Sr. from Indiana Jones.
Oh, I like that.
And for Justin, David Drayton from The Mist. Yeah, fuck him.
He's great dad. Great
Shot his son in the head.
dad.
When he didn't need to. Let's move on.
Amanda Sink says, TV dad, either Keith Mars from Veronica Mars or Richard Castle from Castle.
I love Castle, yeah.
I love how she stays with the characters whose names are in the title. Just because it tells me, because I don't watch either one of them. But anyway, she says, I love the dynamic the fathers have with their daughters. Aww.
Isn't that nice? Now, Robert...
Probably makes her wish she had that same dynamic with her dad. But
well, maybe if she'd been a teenage detective, maybe she would have.
Maybe if her dad was,
worth a crap.
Worth a crap. Yeah.
I'm just picking on her dad.
John Davenport, he says Michael from Lost. Ugh. Because nothing says good dad more than annoying the crap out of everyone walking around a mysterious island filled with murderous whack jobs, a mythical smoke monster, and vulnerable hot chicks screaming, "Whoa!" every damn chance he got.
I like it.
He says, I might have missed the point of the question. Oh, right. Phil from Modern Family.
Phil's winning, man. Phil's getting the votes.
Brad, is it Rothermel?
Yeah, it looks like Rothermel. Yep.
Rothermel says Howard Cunningham, Mr. C from Happy Days.
That's a good pick. Yeah.
That is a good pick.
Jonathan Spear here as yet another vote for Keith Mars. So he's got 3. I think he's winning.
Oh, see, girl detective dads. That's how you win.
And he was an awesome dad.
He was.
Josh Stima says Stan Smith from American Dad and Vic Mackey from The Shield.
What the fuck?
Good father, terrible husband.
We got some sick ass bitches up in this.
God, yeah. I thought my rationale was a little bit off, but
well, I mean, Vic Mackey as a dad,
yeah, he
had a lot of love for his children.
He was a good father. As long as
he was a terrible human being.
As long as morals are not important to your fatherhood, yeah.
All right. Scott Kagaro says Liam Neeson's Daniel from Love Actually. Who wouldn't want a dad that encourages you to break every airport security law ever written for the girl you love?
All right.
Damn right.
I got it. You're right.
Okay. Mark Thompson says Al Bundy. He could kick your dad's ass.
Okay.
All right.
I wish he would. David McGrath says Dennis Quaid in Frequency. He quit smoking and crossed time to save his boy.
Good call.
Chevy Chase in the Vacation movies. Michael Keaton in My Life and Mr. Mom. On TV, gotta say, Homer Simpson.
As a good dad?
I guess.
Does he even know he has children?
Doesn't he try to almost literally throw them under the bus anytime he can?
Every chance he gets. Love the mention of Dennis Quaid in Frequency. Great pick.
Yeah.
Shut up.
All right. Reese Bennett says, the dad from Family Ties. I thought Surviving Jack was a great dad, but that show was canceled. Phil Dunphy, Louie. Yeah, Louie's a good dad.
I don't know.
You never watched Louie?
No, I haven't watched it.
He's a good dad who says a lot of crap about his kids. Robert Gent says Al Bundy or Darth Vader. I'm assuming those are bad dads.
I think they're rooting for. I honestly think at this point they think they're wonderful fathers. Brian?
Stephen White says, I got to agree with Steve. I guess is he agreeing with himself?
No. Steve from earlier.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Phil Dunphy would be an awesome dad. And from the movies, John McClane, he may not be the best dad, but he can kick the other dad's asses.
I could buy that.
I don't know. John McClane up against Liam Neeson from Taken. Man, who's coming out of that scrap?
No one's a winner there. No one.
No, the world would just be destroyed in the aftermath of that.
It's just perpetual, just ass kicking. It's like that infinity symbol, but it's just them two punching and kicking. That's all it is.
I could see that. Douglas Clayton grew up with Charles Ingalls, Little House on the Prairie, introduced the kids to Star Wars, so Darth Vader and Ned Stark.
Wow, you're just giving them a lot of pain, aren't you?
Ryan Page says Tim Taylor. Tim the Toolman Taylor.
Rochelle Wister says, does Grunkle Stan from Gravity Falls count? He's like a dad.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't actually know what that is.
Randy Westcott says Al Bundy.
How can Al Bundy be a good dad?
I think there's people. Next time you go to Facebook and
They
you
said
put
favorite.
your choices,
It says favorite.
put good or bad.
It says favorite. So, I mean, that might be just their favorite. Doesn't mean there's a good or
Could be their
bad.
favorite bad.
There you go.
Al Bundy, he's a good bad dad. I mean, he's entertaining, but I wouldn't leave my children with him.
All right. Well, next week we're going to be talking robots in honor of Transformers. Unfortunately, Brian will not...
Twiggy.
Beat it. So we'll be talking about some robots. Brian will not be here. He will be on a cruise, and so he really could care less what we talk about.
Should be somewhere around St. Martin.
Ooh, very nice.
Doing some zip lining.
Hope you get diarrhea.
Remember, guys, if you like us on Facebook, we'll mention you on the show. That is facebook.com/The Hollywood Outsider. Beatrice Rosales, thanks for liking us on Facebook. Now let's go to emails. Justin?
We have an email from Doug Clayton. He says, I don't speak Spanish, damn it.
I don't either.
Mujerzuelas?
I married Spanish, so I didn't have to.
I guess that's hello, misters?
Sure, let's go with that.
Anyway, good to hear you back. Brendan Fraser has always been an enigma to me. Great chemistry, big dude, handsome, okay actor. He was great in The Mummy. Anyway, the movie was bedazzled. I think this movie, I like this movie for two very obvious reasons. And I'm assuming those have nothing to do with Brendan Fraser.
I get it. Oh, yeah.
Buddy films. Surprised no one mentioned They Live. Roddy Piper and Keith David. Great fight scene in the alley. Also grumpy old men. Or was this just action? That movie is hilarious, though. Alien Nation, James Caan, and the Alien Dude.
That was his character name. All right.
Topic idea. Movies that you'd like to see. And I think we've done this.
I thought we did that.
I think we
fairly
did do
recently.
it, actually, yeah.
Maybe he's just behind on some episodes. But movies that you'd like to see have a spinoff or an additional telling. Not sequel, same world, maybe just a side story. For example, I always thought it would be cool if when Ash was sucked down the Necronomicon, he was down there fighting his way out of hell. And when he got out, because Ash is that kind of badass, no time passed. Books do this often, but I don't think any of the films. Or I'm just a loon and this idea is up there with Katie Coltrane shagging a T-Rex. What the fuck does that mean?
I don't have any idea, but I like it.
Peace out, dudes. Doug Clayton. Yeah, I do believe we did TV shows or movies that deserved a sequel or a spinoff. So maybe go back. Maybe it might be one you missed, Doug.
But we'll look at it just to make sure we understood you right, and we'll see if we can work that out. Brian?
All right, this is from Notleaf Felton, which is Felton backwards.
Ah,
Oh, it sure is.
oh,
Ain't
son
you
of a
clever?
bitch. Son of a bitch.
He says, Bedazzled is the movie. That movie was the reason why I fell in love with Elizabeth Hurley. She was so fine.
She was.
I think that's got to do with Doug Clayton's reasons. And last week, buddy action movie. Not so action, but classic Silver Streak. Love that movie.
Good call. Yeah.
Favorite movie, Dad? Samuel Jackson, A Time to Kill.
Damn right, he
And-
killed a man for his daughter.
Sure did.
And Nicolas Cage in Kick-Ass.
I like that, yeah.
TV Dad, John Amos from Good Times.
Great. That's a
call.
great pick, yeah. I can't believe nobody mentioned that one.
Well, you know, we didn't know we could have honorable mentions this week.
Finish
so.
up, jackass.
He also says you guys have the best podcast, hands down. Can't agree more. And Brian, I will beat you in this year's fantasy football. Plus, don't talk about Jersey. Jersey boy here. I know you was joking.
Who talked about Jersey?
I probably made some
You son of a bitch.
bad Jersey's the armpit of the U.S. joke or something.
Georgia
you
does
know?
not get to make these kind of jokes.
Look, if I make jokes about Georgia and everybody else makes jokes about Georgia, Jersey's fair game. So deal with it there, not leave.
That's true. We do give him way more than enough shit about Georgia.
Yep.
Jacob says, what's this movie was bedazzled, had to cheat and look up the title, and whatever happened to Elizabeth Hurley, damn, she was smoking. I think the consensus we're getting is that guys like ladies.
Well, these guys like ladies.
I like these
Especially
ladies.
Elizabeth Hurley. But what did happen to her?
She dated Hugh Grant. That's enough to ruin any woman.
Ugh, man, what a waste.
Still remember that prostitute? God, how does that happen? How do you fuck up your life that bad?
Between Bedazzled and Austin Powers, those two movies made her a star in my heart.
She was
and
gorgeous.
other places.
She was very cool. Wow, really? Wow. We're just becoming the classy podcast. D.A. Cheney said, I do remember Running Scared. It was a long time ago. We talked about that last week. But I remember liking it because you remember correctly. Also, hey, Turner and Hooch had heart and comedy. I like that particular one, too. And I think Brian and I have decided you have been outvoted, sir.
Yes.
All right. Hey, you know what? That show's still out there, and it still has me hating it, so that ain't going to change.
Where you can find us, you can stay through the credits for outtakes. Go to thehollywoodoutsider.com or tweet us at H_outsider. We are on Facebook /The Hollywood Outsider. There's also a Facebook group where you can talk to other movie lovers. That's The Hollywood Outsider. Leave us a message or text us at 818-814-6246. And our email, once again, is feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com. Listen and subscribe for free on iTunes, your Stitcher Radio app, or through our RSS feed. One more quick mention. We haven't mentioned this in a couple weeks, but Justin's book, Stillwater, still doing very well, and I want to recommend everybody goes to buy that. You can always go to the website. There's a link right there on the page. I want to thank you guys for being here. Sorry Scott couldn't make it, but Justin and Brian, thanks for being here as always, guys.
Are we really sorry Scott couldn't make it? Are we really?
He's still listening. Yes. Yes.
Oh, we're sorry.
Yes, we missed Justin.
I gotta say, it did flow very well without him.
Don't you say that, because you know Scott.
I'm just saying.
You know Scott. He's crying right now somewhere.
Yeah,
I know.
Well, he's having the time of his life. If he even listens. He
Running from
probably
the
listens.
police in Oregon.
Remember,
Just
guys.
kidding, Scott. We love you.
Mwah. The next time you go to a theater, buy popcorn. How does one turn a trailer, Brian?
Steering wheel?
Yeah, you hook up the.
Do they have steering wheels?
Well, you hook up the lawnmower to the, pulling side. You just drive it around till the wind is blocked enough so I can still pick up the Wi-Fi signal from Starbucks.
Because the wind helps blow that towards you.
Vincent D'Onofrio. It's Chubbs McGee. That's what I'm going to call him.
Fatty McFatterson.
He has become, Vincent D'Onofrio has become, what is
Marlon
it?
Brando?
No, well, that too. You guys are such dicks.
If I didn't give him shit even when he wasn't here, people would be wondering what's up with me.
It's true.
It's tradition.
We should have started with Scott quit the show because he got fed up with Justin. And then seen how long people would believe it.
I'm fine with that. Whatever. It's like I don't really care why you left. Just if you left.
Well, next week I'm gonna have to keep one of those little clicker things to count how many jokes about me not listening to the podcast there are going to be through the whole episode.
Does that mean you're actually going to listen to it?
And I got a logic complaint.
Okay.
Why was Step Up All Ends trailer not one of them that we talked about?
That's an excellent question and one you should take up with management.
All right, I'll send an email.
I just love those movies because they have zero story, and it's always some girl who's lonely, and she finds this group of guys who just randomly do dance in the middle of the fucking park, and nobody ever gives them a second glance.
And there's a trailer for the new Leprechaun movie, don't you?